I'm Bob Lee. You're a poet now?
I'm trying.
I'm Chris Berman. The Sports Center is next.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the ESPN Sportscenter. I'm Tom Mees with Gail Gardner.
Look at those cherubic little faces, and who are these three guys looking like Burgess Meredith?
Still crazy after all these years. The only three guys that could look bad in a tux.
Thank you, Tom.
You're still not renting your clothing. that picture is the last time the three of us worked a show together. It was the 10,000 Sports Center, December 2nd, 1988. Last time we three were together, and we've just had a chance, along with you, to look at the different ways we've opened the show in the last 15 years.
Good music through the... Not we heard everything but Abraham, Martin, and John, which maybe we are.
Right. Well, you could dance to it. I give it a 95. You know, 15 years ago tonight, Sports Center took the air, and during the next hour, we'll take a look at Sports Center and sports through those 15 years.
Yes, but there's news tonight. So, circa 1994, Wood, roll the open.
The last best chance to save the season and a century of history. Tonight on SportsCenter, there is momentum to do something to solve the strike.
If there are meaningful ways to affect that change other than a salary cap, of course we'd be willing to discuss those.
Andre, a giant at the Open. Tonight at stake, a place in the semifinals. North Turner's decision on freezing the quarterback situation. A major suspension in the Big Ten. A major landmark for American soccer. 15 years of SportsCenter. Living on Reds, Dickie V, and the Hurricanes. What a long, strange trip it's been.
As a grand American once said, hi, hello, and welcome back to the ESPN Sports Center. 15 years old today with Bob Lee and Chris Berman.
Who are you, by the way? What have you been doing the last 15 years?
Hi, stranger. How are you? Nice to see you.
Good to see you, Thomas. Good to see you, Bob. And by the way, if you're wondering what these things are over here, we used to stick these things on our blazer. I can't believe I found two of these through the mothballs, usually letting blood out on the shirt when you did it, but we're going to see if these hold up through the whole show. You remember these things.
We may start a fashion trend. These look better on blue than they did on red.
Red. A lot of things look better than they did on red when you had no... What is this, by the way? The cube here? I mean, what are these things? New set? A prompter? We didn't have prompter for 6 years? Let's get to some news, huh?
Please.
All right. Tennis, anyone? Yeah, we call it an hour of yucks coming up. It was supposed to be the comeback U.S. Open for Boris Becker, but instead, it's another Wimbledon champ who is gathering the headlines and the victories. Andre Agassi, unseeded but unheated, was on center court tonight in Flushing Meadow against the 13th seed and lone portsider left in the men's draw, Thomas Muster of Austria. Colonel Muster with the lead pipe in the conservatory. Here we go. Center court this evening, and it's almost like Ali's entourage when Agassi gets on the court. Muster's serving, but look at Agassi rifle the backhand for the winner. First set wins in a tiebreaker 7-6. That was his trump card. Second set, Agassi from baseline. Muster comes in, but look at Agassi. Just cross-court him, and Muster can't handle it. 6-3 second set, Agassi. Third set, match point. The short rally, and Agassi hitting those, that blistering forehand. And Andre Agassi, loser in the first round last year, moves on now to the semifinals, defeating Muster 7-6, 6-3, 6-love. He's trying to become the first unseeded man to win since Fred Stolle in 1966, and, you know, Fred is one of us here at ESPN, so we had to get that in there. But at any rate, Agassi trying to do that for the first time since '66. So Agassi will play American Todd Martin in the semifinals. The 9th seed beat back Bernd, my mother, the Carbaher, 6-4, 7-6, 4-6, 6-4. The unseeded German was game, battling Martin for almost 4 hours. But at the end, Tom, he knew nothing, and he saw nothing.
My mother, the Jerry Van Dyke, would be proud. Prior to the U.S. Open, top-seeded Steffi Graf had to pull out of a tune-up for the Open, blaming a sore back. Now, whatever treatment she received for her ailment, it has worked.
Very well, thank you. Graf had not been extended to the 60-minute mark in any of her matches prior to today's quarterfinal contest with 11th-seeded Amanda Kutzer of South Africa. Could she go by the magic hour mark? Steffi lost only 4 matches all year. Facing Kutzer. Kutzer having problems with Steffi's serve. And a return into the net. 2-love, and with Steffi's forehand winner, 3-love, you get the idea. One of the longer points came here. Kutzer thinks she has Graf with the lob right there. Guess again. Steffi gets to it. It's Kutzer who can't put it away. Boy, Graf wins it 6-love in 17 minutes. Goes on to win the match 6-love, 6-4. Yes, she beat the hour time limit. 1 hour time limit. 55 minutes was the final there. Graf, her 9th U.S. Open semifinal appearance in 10 years. That is consistency. Jana Novotná, very consistent in this Open. She wins no matter what classification you can name. Novotná beat Mary Pierce in singles 6-4, 6-love. She'll face Steffi Graf in the semifinals. Novotná is still alive in the doubles and the mixed doubles at the Open. The last woman to win all 3. Who else? Martina Navratilova in 1987.
Well, she's the John Travolta of the U.S. Open. I guess enough tennis, though, for now. We should be talking baseball, but alas, for almost 4 straight weeks, we've been twiddling our thumbs, waiting for the owners and players to realize that a mind is a terrible thing to waste, but wasting a baseball season is a crime. I think the last time we all worked together was the last baseball strike in '81. We've maintained all along that there would be a 10-game season resuming Friday, September the 23rd. But for that to happen, they ought to start figuring this out now. If we can get Peter Gammons with Bob, then Richard Ravitch and Don Fear ought to be able to break bread as well. Right, Bob?
And Carl Ravitch, too, yes. We'll get to Peter in just a second. There are, though, informal talks at this hour in New York City. Ownership and union exchanging ideas away from the formal bargaining session, trying in this 27th day of the baseball strike to find some common ground before the regular season and then the postseason are destroyed. Earlier today, Acting Commissioner Bud Selig said he still wants a salary cap, but he would listen to ideas that address the economic needs of the owners that are not involving a cap. The union faces a scenario where the cancellation of the season might endanger the solidarity that the players have had for nearly a quarter-century. Peter Gammons joins us. We hear about secret talks and back channels. It sounds a lot like spring of '90. What's the dynamic that has forced this now? Bud Selig put a deadline out. Has that worked?
I think it's worked to a degree. I think what's important here is that the Players Association knows that it might be disastrous for the union to go through the winter and then see what happens when marginal players start trickling into spring training.
On the other hand, and just as important, there are an awful lot of owners that have a great deal of debt and are leveraged to the gills that might not be able to make it through the winter.
I think everyone now realizes, hey, we can't go through the winter and do any more damage to the game and endanger ourselves.
It sounds though if you hate to put a box score mentality on this, the owners though have the momentum here. They're on the verge perhaps of maybe winning this thing.
Well, if there's winning and losing, it's a very different thing. The whole dynamic of the union and the owners, very different than it was back in the 60s and the 70s when Marvin Miller was doing it. Don Fear and Gene Orza are more of managers of a huge business association of players, and it's a very different dynamic. I think what's happened is that the players are now acknowledging, yes, there are some teams in trouble. And once they've done that, and once they come forward, and there's talk that they will make a proposal tomorrow, they're not sure if they will, but hey, they don't even, at this point, they all know basically what it's going to take to make a deal. Proposals aren't really, the formal proposals really aren't that important. But now that they've admitted that, yes, maybe there are some teams in trouble, there's room to talk. There's a great deal of money out there for everyone, and that's still the bottom line.
So now what do we make of the fact that Jerry McMorris, second-year owner in the National League, is really front and center in a lot of this?
Well, he's terrific with unions. I mean, that's how he built his money, dealing with the Teamsters, rebuilding unions. I mean, we have some very important people in this mix. John Harrington of the Red Sox, Stan Kasten of the Braves, who, of course, has been instrumental in the NBA, Wendy Selig. I think it's an interesting mix of people that are going in here, but I think that what's also very important is that the Players Association has really worked hard in the last week to 10 days. Oh, yes, they say nothing's going on, but they've initiated an awful lot of talks and really worked hard to get back.
Well, again, they are meeting secretly in New York City at this hour. They have not had a formal negotiating session. Still formally, the salary cap is on the table. That's important for a legal reason if we get to the point of an impasse, but they are talking and they realize that time is precious if they're going to save the season. And guys, just like we covered the near strike of 80, the big one of 81, the quickie of 85, the lockout of 90, here we are, same as it ever was, sitting here watching the wheel go round and round. And everyone wanting their baseball. We don't know right now what's happening.
Well, let's hope it resumes and we can save a semblance of this baseball season, Bob. As hard as it may seem to believe, over the years here on SportsCenter, there have been occasions when our professional, unflappable staff has actually screwed up royally. Truth is stranger than fiction, my friends, and you'll see it if you keep it where it is.
Well, Tommy, if it's early September, then there's a chill in the air. That means pucks. I guess that's why they call them the Blues. Two of St. Louis's best players are talking about skating right through the gateway to the West. We'll update you on the injury you all saw Monday Night Supper by the Raiders' Napoleon McCallum. And U.S. national soccer team at Wembley Stadium against the bloody English. We'll show you who tallied and who was held to nil. 15th Anniversary Sportscenter returns in just a jiffy, mate.
ESPN gave me the greatest opportunity of my life. I get fired. It's like the end of the world in my sports career. I'm as down as can be. 1979, the Pistons say, bye-bye, baby. It's Ziggy time. All of a sudden, the phone rings. Guy calls me up, and he says, hey, Dick, we're starting this ESPN. We want you to do our very first game, Wisconsin and DePaul. I go down there. I do my first game. 15 years later, it's been heaven.
I can't get away from him. By the way, Dick, speaking of the Pistons, we're not going to mention how you traded away ML Carr plus the draft picks that the Celtics turned into Robert Parrish and Kevin McHale. We won't talk about that. The Pistons, by the way, have given restricted free agent Oliver Miller an offer sheet, 4 years, $10 million. The Phoenix Suns now with 15 days to match. The Pistons have already in this offseason acquired centers Mark West and Eric Lechner. Big question in Chicago, will Michael play? Tomorrow, the rosters in Chicago will be announced for Scottie Pippen's charity game next week, the final basketball game to be played at Chicago Stadium. That announcement coming at midday, and despite Jordan's insistence that he has severed all personal ties with basketball, Pippen's people have been working on MJ, and we will see the result tomorrow. Speaking of results, there is no ground more sacred in soccer than Wembley Stadium in London. The U.S. national soccer team had never played there until today. The English Association offering a $25,000 bonus for an American victory or tie, the English not relishing the prospect of paying out. In London, less than a record or capacity throng, scoreless in the 33rd minute. Alan Shearer will get it and watch him victimize Alexi Lalas inside and beat Brad Fiedel to the near post, 1-0 England. Bora Milutinovic shares a birthday with his network. He's 50, we're 15. In the 40th minute, Graham Lasso will just send the cross. Once again, Shearer with a diving header beating Friedel 2-0. The English continue to threaten. Shearer looking for the hat trick. And watch him head this, knot it down. Friedel is there, but the English, who will host the European Championships convincingly today, 2-0. Guys?
Well, Bob, let's head back to the States and to American football, where many of us watched Monday night as Raiders running back Napoleon McCallum suffered an unsightly injury. The classy McCallum, former All-American and Navy, underwent 2 hours of surgery to replace a ruptured artery in his left knee after it was twisted at a very sharp angle in the third quarter of the Raiders' loss at Candlestick at San Francisco. His season is certainly over. His career of the 30-year-old McCallum could also be in jeopardy. All the Raiders feel is hurt.
Knapp has been the team leader for us the last couple of years, and he's been a guy that we've counted on, especially in short yardage situations, and on special teams. So he's going to be dearly missed.
We love Knapp. We're praying for him, but you can't get too caught up into the injury factor. And we won't use this as a motivating factor. No, I mean that's something that's sacred. That's injury to someone that we love dearly, and we just hope that he get well soon.
Well, everybody rooting for Max, certainly. Eventually, he'll have an MRI to determine the extent of the ligament damage, and then they know where to go from there. One day, Heath Schuler will be quarterback for Norv Turner and the Washington Redskins, but not quite yet. The Skins will stick with John Freeze for Week 2 as the starter at New Orleans, with Schuler playing a bit as he did in Sunday's loss to Seattle. But Freeze may be a short-lived Steve DeBerg, who eventually gave way, of course, to Joe Montana, later with the Broncos' John Elway. Or Freeze could be Mike Tolliver, who you remember started most of the '65 season with the Jets, till Joe Namath was ready, and then Tolliver moved on. Turner says Schuler may start in Week 3 for the Skins in the Meadowlands against the Giants. Tommy?
Chris, hockey news now. St. Louis Blues have new uniforms for the upcoming season. They have a state-of-the-art new arena, the Kiel Center, set to open, but they may be singing the blues if their superstar Brett Hull gets his way. Hull and new coach Mike Keenan are a marriage made in Hades, and Hull wants out. He'd like to go to L.A., but will the Kings part with newly signed Rob Blake? Stay tuned. Elsewhere, more news from the Orange. Goalie Curtis Joseph, who could sue his defense for non-support, wants a new contract. He didn't get it in the offseason, says he'll play out his option, become a free agent after this year. He wants $3 million a year. And New Jersey netminder Richard Brodeur, who made Martin Brodeur made $140 grand last year, wants 10 times that amount, wants $1.4 million. Says if he doesn't get it by opening night, he will skate out of camp. Martin Brodeur, he wants to be a rich goaltender. Well,
Martin
Brodeur. Yeah, you had to do that. Coming up on this 15th anniversary edition of SportsCenter, how sports news has changed during the past 15 years. I'll get you for that. And how SportsCenter has kept pace with the times.
ESPN is awesome. I love watching it, and hopefully it can stay around for as long as I'm living.
Now, Johnny Mack gave this network several epic and unforgettable moments. 15 years ago this evening, ESPN was launched on some good ideas, a lot of nervous energy, a little bit of coffee, and also the idea that no matter what, SportsCenter would always be here. That, in a nutshell, has been our job, continuously each day to report, interpret, entertain, and take the odd step back to analyze. Tonight, we take the ultimate step back through parts of 3 different decades before this program was seen in over 100 countries and the music sting from our theme became cult. A step back into the history of SportsCenter.
Welcome, everyone, to the ESPN SportsCenter. From this very desk, in the coming weeks and months, we'll be filling you in on the pulse of sporting activity, not only around the country, but around the world as well.
From the very first SportsCenter through the 10,000th show, with a total now approaching 16,000, SportsCenter has grown from the scores and highlights to a sports news program also reporting the issues of the day from the sites of major events such as the Final Four, the Super Bowl, and the World Series when they play it. Consider that when SportsCenter took its first breath, Magic Johnson and Larry Bird were in their rookie training camps. SportsCenter covered their rivalry as their skills wrote so much of a generation's sports history. Their careers, their championships, their retirements. One poignant, the other shocking.
Because of the HIV virus that I have attained, I will have to retire from the Lakers.
Consider that SportsCenter's first full baseball season, George Brett made his best run at 400. Now he's in the front office after a world championship, 3,000 base hits, and that little flap over pine tar. SportsCenter has reported the historical Bear Bryant's record-setting victory, Eddie Robinson's moment of glory, Kareem in the all-time NBA scoring mark, Roger Clemens' 20 rocketing strikeouts.
Al Nipper came over to me and said, "You got a chance to go to Cooperstown," and that's when it sunk in, and I went out there and did it.
Nolan Ryan's finest and final masterpiece, number 7. Kirk Gibson's home run from Hollywood.
You guys can call us anything you want, but call us makeshift world champs. We don't care.
Reporting night after night, we've recorded some epic arrivals. That skinny freshman who knocked down a big J for the Tar Heels. The southpaw from Mexico whose screwball turned the sport on its ear. A young heavyweight destined for a life in the headlines.
When I fight better fighters in my career and they make the same mistakes, they'll get knocked out. If not earlier, it'll be in the later rounds.
A new league eager to kick off. Arrivals and departures. The USFL's $3 legal victory. The Colts leaving one city's embrace for another's opportunity.
The Colts are on their way to Indianapolis.
The death of the Bear, the passing of an era, the fall of a champion, first from the ring.
Standing here at the Tokyo Dome, one of the biggest upsets, the biggest upset in heavyweight boxing history, James Buster Douglas over Mike Tyson with a 10th round knockout.
And then from the grace of society.
Mike Tyson has to go to jail. Don King and Vince Fuller get to go home. So I think that when Mike Tyson really looks back at this trial, he'll see that the advice he got was not very good.
And the final fight for a man who remains a global figure. SportsCenter has reported on the dynasties of this age, hockey dominance on Long Island and up in Edmonton, Toronto's successive championships, the ongoing march of the 49er machine.
And no matter what, the 49ers came up with an offense. It was always 2, 3, sometimes 4 steps ahead of the Miami defense.
Duke's annual visits to the Final Four.
Has it really sunk in that this is your last collegiate ball game?
No, it hasn't.
The images of these teams formed the basis for SportsCenter's highlights that have evolved from the chronology of games to thematic approaches.
How about I do it outside from way downtown?
side. Let's go. Bang.
SportsCenter presented these pictures from a variety of sets and environments, a number of themes and looks.
I'm Sharon Smith.
I'm David Sullivan.
I'm Tom Mees with Gail Gardner.
The Alan Massengale. I'm Greg Gumbel.
Lots has changed. Tom Mees helped write the book on this show. Now he's ringside.
Seven cuts in front. They score! They score! Wayne Gretzky!
The Swami continues to prognosticate.
This game, week one, will go a long way into deciding it.
And anchors who once coaxed comments from reluctant analysts now do the same with others.
It was an interesting series. Actually, it's probably good for the game.
SportsCenter's reporting has been recognized with numerous sports Emmys and cable aces. Stories as diverse as the thirst of Desert Storm troops for sports news from home. A major leaguer's trip during the All-Star break to adopt a child in Guatemala. Riddick Bowe's visit to the hunger and violence of Somalia. A coach with a history of intimate relationships with his athletes. A football program that recruited under false pretenses. SportsCenter broke the news of Eric Dickerson's blockbuster trade to the Colts from the Rams. Wayne Gretzky's move to L.A. stunned the continent. There was the tragic Sunday night Hank Gather's heart gave out. The day the earth moved and America wondered what happened to the World Series. SportsCenter's reports and pictures were the first the nation saw. Landmark stories that ranged beyond sports. Pete Rose, in 4 years from a mortal hit king to disgraced hero. And the running back who was beginning his final pro season in September of '79, who now dominates the news like few others have in these 15 years of SportsCenter.
So the incredible story certainly will continue. So many different people have sat at this desk and all the other desks in the other studio and in this studio, which is brand new. To update you, George Grant, who was on that very first program. Of course, we're talking to him tonight. He's the voice of the Cincinnati Reds. Lou Palmer, one of the originals, living and working in Florida. And Greg Wyatt owns a radio station down in Port St. Louis. Teeny, down in Port St. Lucie. Some of the people you might remember from 15 years ago.
And you know, guys, the advancement in technology, we've kept up with it, and it's really helped our reporting efforts here on SportsCenter. I'll never forget that night we broke the story at this desk of the Eric Dickerson trade. I'll also never forget the way we were able to cover live the news conference as Wayne Gretzky left Edmonton to go to the L.A. Kings.
81, the Cats. Joe Montana to Dwight Clark is my favorite moment. We were on the 5-yard line, myself, Tom Riley, producer, Greg Wade, cameraman. We went, edited it at San Francisco Station, and birded a completely edited story up. We thought the only bird was a carrier pigeon at the time, but yet 10 minutes later, we watched our story go on the air, lead the show, and well, that was the first. And there are so many we could fill about 15 years worth, but let's move on, shall we? Plenty more to come as we steamroll down memory lane. College football, when we return, Heisman hopeful Tyrone Wheatley will watch wistfully as the Wolverines play Notre Dame. Joey Galloway, another Big Ten Heisman possibility, will be riding the pines this week for a different reason.
Prudent thing, they say, to plan your financial future with a competent financial planner. But not if you still have a year's eligibility left with the NCAA. It doesn't seem to apply. Today, Ohio State suspending wide receiver Joey Galloway for 2 games for accepting money from a financial planner. Galloway will sit for 2 weeks accepting $200 from that advisor when he was contemplating entering the NFL draft in January. Galloway, after he changed his mind, came back to the Buckeyes, repaid the money with interest, but he'll miss 2 weeks, including the big game coming up against Washington. Michigan head coach Gary Moeller says that running back Tyrone Wheatley will begin practicing next week. Wheatley has been out with a separated shoulder, suffered on August 23rd, and will miss Saturday's game at Notre Dame. He may play versus Colorado on September 24th. And a reminder, our game day crew, Chris Fowler, Lee Corso, and Craig James will be in South Bend, Indiana for the Wheatley-less Wolverines, say that 10 times fast, as they clash against the Golden Domers, 11:30 a.m. Saturday Eastern Time. We'll also have a closer look at Notre Dame quarterback Ron Powlett.
The University of Houston says it has contained and stopped the problem, but a report in Houston says that academic cheating by Cougar football players is larger than first known. It's already known that former defensive tackle Linton Witherspoon took one exam for a teammate last year. That teammate now says as many as 10 other Cougar football players paid Witherspoon to take exams. The school suspended Witherspoon for 5 years and today said it's going to investigate the latest charges. ESPN's college football, why wait for the weekend? We've got the first game of our 16th year on the air tomorrow evening. Texas Tech and Nebraska. #1 Huskers, the kickoff show at 7:30 Eastern, the game just before 8 Eastern. And you know what? We ain't even near the bottom of the pile of our 15th birthday presents. I love that music. Still to come, the images that have shaped the network since the sign-on 15 years ago.
You think it's easy getting a 6'5", 215-pound frame into this little ball over here? I got a headache. It's a long and rocky road back from the Far East.
I was so much older then. I'm younger than that now. Robert Zimmerman, as sung by Roger McGuinn and the Byrds. Well, it was late on a June evening, probably around 3:10 in the morning, Eastern Time, the old SportsCenter studio, just a soft wedge from where we sit right now. I was alone on the overnight, undoubtedly wearing my Getty red jacket. I would have worn it tonight, but we've grown through the years. We're no longer 6'5", 215. I was afraid it would look like a washcloth or maybe a pocket square. At any rate, it just happened. We never planned to nickname baseball players as a gimmick, but there it was. From the outer reaches of my mind, dating back to undergrad days at Brown University, when we used to sip on our favorite beverage, Perrier, while looking at box scores, and this was the result. We don't know what the first one was, but I have a feeling it's the man making the play, John Mayberry, RFD. Andy Griffith could never have made that play. And we begat some of the other old ones, like Glenn Mother Hubbard of the Atlanta Braves, hitting this one out of his shoe. And then, of course, the second baseman for the Mariners, Julio, Won't You Let Me Take You on a Sea Cruise, the old Frankie Ford rocker from the 50s. And then Tommy gave us Jose Can You See Cruz. Thank you very much, Tom, for that grand slam. The Braves not only had Mother Hubbard, but remember Bruce Eggs Benedict. Start your day off right with a nice breakfast. If it wasn't John Mayberry, RFD, then the first one was probably Frank Tanana Daiquiri, serving them up all through the years with California et al. But if you ask me what my favorite one ever was, John, tonight, let it be Lowenstein. It's beer, it's baseball, it's funny. Yeah, I know I'm Mr. Budball, but they'll get over it. I guess we have created a monster. Probably about 800, 900, close to 1,000 lifetime. Admittedly, some of them are Willie McCovey stretches, these nicknames, but they're all in fun. As my one-time broadcast partner, Jerry Rolls-Royce, said, it's a game everybody can play. And we thank all of you for your suggestions throughout the 15 years. Speaking of which, when we return, sports themselves over the past 15 years have changed drastically. Our Frank DeFord will take us through the paces from 1979 to 1994. There's plenty there. Do you remember?
15 years ago, there were no millionaires in baseball. In fact, Nolan Ryan would sign the first seven-figure annual deal this coming winter. College basketball coaches could not scout with a satellite dish, and maybe we were all a little bit less cynical. 15 years does not have the neatness of a decade or a quarter century, but it's got enough change encompassed in the media and the sports revolution to capture the attention of Frank DeFord.
The Bible tells us that 1,000 ages in thy sight are like just one evening gone. But that's merely the real world. In sports, 15 years is an eternity. Why, only a handful of prominent athletes even survived since 1979. Gretzky, Montana, Winfield, Malone, Navratilova. She just barely. 1979 was so long ago that Cal Ripken Jr. hadn't even started his streak yet. And look at the things that have gone in the last 15 years. Some of them, in fact, come and gone, dust to dust. The Oakland Raiders, the Baltimore Colts. Where did all the legs go in sport? Who's number one now? It seemed like a good idea at the time, right? Like it was. That's the honestly, those little baby things were tennis rackets. Yes, yes. Once upon a time, real men played football out of doors in Minnesota. But through it all, sport has continued to prosper. In these last 15 years, here are the 7 influences that I think have had the most telling effect upon sport. Leading off, professionalism. Or rather, do you believe in amateurs? In ESPN's first year of existence, by far the most exciting event was the defeat of the Soviet hockey juggernaut by a bunch of innocent American kids. By now, though, it's all pro or no-go. Almost everywhere in the world, even the Olympics.
With a career, a great career ahead. Already the champion. How many?
Next, basketball has boomed. In this period, it's the only sport that's made an exponential leap. Now basketball in America is in a big 3 with football and baseball, and in the world, basketball is even edging up on king soccer. Women are jocks, too. Most females of the species are playing sports and watching sports. More females are spending money on sports, and more money is being spent to finance women's sports by men. Arthroscopic surgery, the kindest cut of them all. And also, more and more older players stay in shape and stay around into their 40s. Our athletes are both younger and older now. Number 5, yakety yak, yakety yak. The electronic sports media has exploded. Fox, HBO, USA, regional cable, ESPN, and since you can't fly on one wing, ESPN 2. Sports define networks now. CBS bid way too much for baseball in '88 and lost a bundle of money. But it didn't bid enough for the NFL last year and lost a bundle of prestige. By now, in 1994, sports is ubiquitous in our society. Talk radio constantly fuels the fire. Don't laugh, don't laugh. Talk radio is a major presence now. Every fan has always had an opinion. Now, at last, every fan's opinion can be aired. Hello, Vinny. You're on the air. You want to talk about marketing? Okay. The ESPN era has seen so many more sophisticated ways to bring new revenue into sport. Luxury skyboxes, sponsorships, products, logos, logos, logos. And as sports has become more prominent in our culture, the famous Heisenberg effect has come into play. The Heisenberg effect includes that the act of observing must inevitably change what is being observed. Once our athletes were distant and special heroes. Now they're overexposed and everyday celebrities. The mix of the money and the visibility has regularly become too combustible. Sports results usually stay on the sports page or with the sports announcer. But the sports scandals, Mike and Ray, Jennifer and drugs, Tanya and O.J., they spill over onto the front pages and the tabloid shows. For the first time, the worst of sport, the ugliness rather than the beauty, gets top billing. There is more disillusionment in 1994. And so the more we watch, the less we like who it is we're watching. But we keep on watching, and then Vinny calls up talk radio again. But oh well, we'll talk about those events again in September 2009. And don't worry, Vinny, you'll be on the CD-ROM then, or you'll be on the sports telephone television.
You've heard of Place of the Week, but what about announcers freezing their tushes off at the banks of the Ohio? Like cameraman Jeff Israel and I will never forget that day, and you'll never forget some of the funnier moments on SportsCenter when we come back. SportsCenter is the finished product, the end result of hours and hours of work by dedicated professionals. Most valued among these pros, the videotape editor, who thankfully makes sure that our not-so-perfect efforts never see the light of day. Well, almost never.
So remember, if we sound stupid, it's not your television set. We are stupid.
You never gave me a cue. In Mobile, Alabama for SportsCenter, Lou Palmer, ESPN.
No. All right, meanwhile, while we're talking auto racing, why don't we talk... There we go.
All right, 5 games in the North American Soccer League. That's me over here.
Okay. All right, you ready? I'm hungry. Let's go. The song goes, everything's up to date in Kansas City. But that's an old tune. This is a new team. The Kansas City...
I should be next.
Dennis Conner seized the helm of Trial Horse Liberty.
Well, understandably, here in the lake are a lot of... He can't hear me. He doesn't hear me.
What about Team Blazers?
A little darling. Little darling. Where? Are you? Unbelievable.
Big news today in the National Football League. The same team that had a 49% interest sold also had a major trade rescinded.
That's Don Robinson. Base hit into center field. Williams and Kennedy score 5-0 Giants. Bottom of the 6th, 6-0. Jeff Bagwell with his I beg your pardon, 11th home run of the year. That's Jose Uribe. Welcome back from vacation. Giants win it 11-8, and boy, don't I feel good.
I'm Charlie Steiner. I'm going to go clear my throat now. I'm Chris Fowler. I'll watch him do that. You have a good evening.
You better get a life.
Unbelievable.
Next up on ESPN, that little elf himself, Bob Lee.
And in the chance that, over here, hello, didn't make your Sunday paper, you will be glad to know that the Leopard is now champion. And good evening, welcome to Sports Center, along with Bob Lee. I'm Dan Patrick, and no, that's... You're Bob Lee, I'll be got it right. Last night in Chicago, somebody thought, we'll figure this out.
We hope you enjoyed it. For Ray Knight, I'm Peter Gammons. Yeah, I'm right.
He motored in with the best time of 5 hours, 23 minutes, 23 seconds to win. The 10th stage, Le Mans holds a 69-second lead over I'm going to try it now. Djamaladin Abdulashapalov, or something like that. Boy, I could never make it on Wheel of Fortune.
Tell him I can hear him. Tell him I can hear this. I can hear this in my ear. I can hear Fowler.
I'm the greatest thing ever. I love me. Thank God for Larry Holmes.
You made me happy sitting down talking.
I know I did. Don't you ever forget it.
Why do I come down here? I can hear him. Tell him.
We have a lot more still to come on ESPN Scholastic Sports America. Right after this break, we'll meet a student who escaped from the problems in his... I hear this guy snorting.
Ladies and gentlemen, our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see? And the rocket, red flag. Uh-oh. I'll make up for it now. Oh, the land of the free.
Sorry, national anthem. Written by Francis Scott off-key. Those were last night's low lights. They were last night's highlights.
But Chicago may have a better chance of earning home court advantage. A halfback in the Knicks and Hawks with 5 to play. Problem is, Charlotte is where they, this is how things get in the playoffs. They get so intense. This is playoff positioning. And I am bringing it right to you because I can adapt. I play that kind of a defense.
All right, we're going to do that physical fitness thing, so enjoy your workout. I'm Chris Myers as we head for the dark days of summer. Lights out, baby. I'm Jack Edwards. I'm Chris Myers. See you. This one counts, all right? Maybe, maybe not. Wow. I think we better get out of here. Have a good weekend. I'm Charlie Steiner.
I'm Jack Edwards. See ya. I can hear you. Okay. My God.
I can hear him. I can hear you. He's a one-man clip reel of bloopers. Thank you, Bino.
We're not even done. The truly humongous show. With all this hot air out here on the set, why stop at today's best? Here's 15 years' worth.
Rogers along the sideline, another one. They're still in deep trouble at midfield. They tried to do a couple of... The ball is still loose as they get it to Rogers. They give it back now to the 30. They're down to the 20. Oh, the band is out on the field. He's going to go into the end zone. He's going into the end zone. Will it count? The Bears have scored, but the bands are out on the field. The Bears have won. The Bears have won.
Now scrambles away from one hit. Looks, uncorks a deep one for the end zone. Phelan is down there.
Oh, he got it!
Did he get it?
He got it!
Touchdown! 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 Touchdown, Boston College!
And that's sliced to left field, and it's another chance for Mitchell, and he makes a barehanded catch.
You got to be kidding me. Gibson swings and a fly ball to deep right field. This is going to be a home run. Unbelievable! A home run for Gibson. I don't believe what I just saw. Swinging a belt. Left field. Way back. Blue Jays win it. Touch 'em all, Joe. You'll never hit a bigger home run in your life.
Team is depending a little bit too much now on Jim Craig. He's making too many good saves.
Eruzione! Mike Eruzione! 5 seconds left in the game. Do you believe in miracles? Yes! Unbelievable.
Hard throw.
Montana rolling out the right, looking toward the end zone, throwing under pressure, throws his pass, caught by Clark. Clark got a touchdown. Dwight Clark has it.
Bruins come back, flip it from their side of center in on Hextall. He blocks, looks to shoot it to the open net. He has scored! From Hextall!
Now there's a steal by Bird. Underneath the DJ. What a play by Bird.
I saw Sam Perkins standing right there underneath the basket, and I thought he was going to jump. So, in expecting him to jump, I just changed hands instinctively.
Bobby Hurley up the floor with Leitner. They throw it to the length of the floor. Leitner catches, comes down, dribbles, shoots, scores!
Down to 7 seconds. You can see the time. Wittenberg. Oh, that's a long ways. They won it.
Goes ahead. Lane's on the other wing. He finds. Oh! That's it, Jerome! I don't believe what I just saw!
15 years tonight, we all started this journey. 2 dates stand out in my mind. January 1982 AFC game, Miami Dolphins and San Diego Chargers, and January 2nd, 84, maybe the best college game ever. Miami beats Nebraska to win their first ever national title. And I want to say a personal thank you to the two guys who gave me a chance here at ESPN 15 years ago, Scotty Connell and Chet Simmons.
Amen.
Dates, October 17th, 1989. Chris, you and I were there at the World Series when the earthquake hit, and dozens of people from this company instinctually knew immediately that we had a news story on our hands, and we were able to get the first national reports on that tragedy, which leads me to 2 thank yous to all the people, none of whom you see behind the scenes for 15 years, who make what we do so easy, and all of us in SportsCenter. I'd like to thank our families for understanding the hard work that goes into putting the show together.
And a thank you from all of us for sure, whether you've just found us here at ESPN or whether you've been with us for all of these 15 years. You out there, the viewers who've laughed with us, we've tried to inform you, we've tried to keep you laughing, maybe at times we've cried with you, but without you, we wouldn't have anything to do the last 15 years. So thank you very much, and for the next 15 years, let's make the same pact. Let's have even more fun and enjoy. For Bob Lee, Tom Meese, I'm Chris Berman. 15 years, September 7th, 1979, ESPN began. Still crazy after all these years. Here are some images since we started.
Good night.
Stay with us.
The basis and backbone for our great country.
We get to spend eternity surrounded by the good and the pure.
Welcome, everyone, to the ESPN Sportscenter. From this very desk, in the coming weeks and months, we'll be filling you in on the pulse of sporting activity, not only around the country, but around the world as well. If it takes an interview, we'll do it. If it takes play-by-play.
Can't change the station. Bounces. Don't change the station.
Kick me and punch me.
I guess speechless would be the way to describe it. off, and Stevenson is going to be out. How about that for a decoy play?
I'll tell you what, Bob, it's obvious to me right now that the Jets just don't understand what the draft's all about.
There is the king out of the car. And this may be the final farewell.
The Los Angeles Police Department right now is actively searching for Mr. Simpson.
Fly ball center field. Dave Henderson makes the call. A no-hitter for Dave Stewart. There's one! It's a no-hitter! Oh, what a play by Coleman to take it right away, though.
Oh, between his legs! I can't believe it!
8 seconds to go. Ames against Paxson. 5 seconds. Inside. Ames scores with 2 seconds. 1 second on the clock. It is all over.
Facing Warren Spahn, deep to left field, way back there, home run, Lou Kaplan, 75 years old.
Don't give up. Don't ever give up.